welcome everybody for here, which I think is a great event. I'd like to introduce my county commissioner colleague to my right, Lejinos Gonzalez, and we represent 2 of the 5 commissioners that are the commissioners for El Paso County. And today, this morning, I am pleased to report that on Tuesday, 12 December, my El Paso County Commissioner colleagues and I voted unanimously to modify El Paso County's land use code to allow for the use of tiny homes as a choice for low-income housing. I want to thank everybody that is here, and we have a lineup this morning of El Paso County representatives and also representatives from the tiny home industry that will talk to you a little bit about the importance of the land use policy changes that El Paso County has made. And we also have 2 tiny homes behind us, and there will be opportunities, I believe, to go into those tiny homes and get a good understanding about what these vehicles look like. Now, it also is important to note that El Paso County in the Colorado Springs area is one of the largest tiny home manufacturing communities in the country, and we also have a low-income housing need. So enacting this local legislation just simply makes sense. And this is not just about helping low-income people to have a place that they can both afford and call home and own. This is also about supporting an industry that provides jobs and innovation for our community. We're one of the first counties in Colorado to change our code to accommodate tiny homes, and we're also one of the first across the nation. And while Craig Dossie, our Executive Director for Planning for El Paso County, will describe the changes to the code, I'd like to say that there are some major themes in these changes that I'm going to mention to you. The code will allow for tiny home parks, just like mobile home parks. It will allow us to use tiny homes in rural areas where a mobile home would otherwise be used. It will allow them to be used as accessory structures on properties, and it will also allow the tiny homes to be used in RV parks, just like other RVs. And I'm encouraged that several members of the Colorado Springs City Council have also expressed an interest in our actions in the county, and I believe that they will soon consider similar legislation for the jurisdiction of Colorado Springs. Now, with this change, we have turned El Paso County into a national leader for this movement, and I am happy to report the changes that we made here are supported across the political spectrum. For Democrats, this is a social justice issue about housing affordability. For Republicans, this is about getting the government out of the way so that an innovative industry can serve a need in our community. I'm proud to be a part of this watershed event in our community, and at this time, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Craig Dossie.
Thank you, Commissioners. I think today is a good example of not only great leadership by the Board of County Commissioners, but it's also a great example of collaboration between the county and the industry. We began the process of evaluating our regulations about 9 months ago to look at opportunities for allowing tiny homes to come into the housing market. Obviously, there's been a huge desire in the industry and in the market to find alternatives to the existing housing stock. So our staff worked very hard, worked very collaboratively with the industry to develop regulations that I think really are a starting point more than anything on presenting alternatives to the existing housing stock. When we look at our regulations, we always have to consider when we're trying to address a certain issue 2 things. One is what is the issue that we're trying to solve, and the other question is who are our stakeholders. I think with regard to the stakeholders, obviously the industry is going to be in there, but also the end user. And a lot of times, I think particularly in this case, the end user may not even know that they're the end user until they're presented with that option. In the instance of what is the issue that we're trying to solve, I think as a result of the leadership of the county commissioners, the issue that we're trying to solve is providing some of that alternative housing stock. More specifically to the regulations, we had to look at 3 particular situations pertaining to tiny homes. Tiny homes can have many different meanings. A lot of people think of tiny homes as a small house that's on a foundation. Fortunately, the land development code for El Paso County already allowed for something like that. What the code did not allow for is more of the mobile type of tiny home, which are those units that are behind me. So we had to look at that, and particularly we looked at it in two different ways. One, we wanted to create an opportunity where there could be a what's called a tiny home park or a tiny home community, and we also wanted to look at, well, what opportunities are there to add a tiny home to a single family lot. Obviously, some of the big issues with that one in particular are with regard to compatibility with the existing neighborhood, and I believe that the regulations that the Board of County Commissioners passed on Tuesday address that particular issue by adding some design criteria to make them look and even act a lot more like a single-family home. With regard to the tiny home communities, I think we've created a huge opportunity there, as Commissioner Vanderwerf stated, to address some affordable housing issues. But also, some of these folks want to live in a community with what I'd call like-minded people that want to live the same lifestyle. So I think what we've done here is we've really started the conversation on tiny homes in El Paso County, and I do think that this is a very important first step in that process.